Hi everyone, I'm going to discuss Hello Lover, Commodification, Intimacy, and Second Wave Feminism on Sex and the City by Catherine Humney Lee. Lee discusses the ways in which capitalism has changed how we interpret feminism and intimacy, as evidenced on Sex and the City. Second wave feminism has changed drastically from what feminism once was, a unifying and political movement of the 60s and 70s. The 80s was the time when feminism became less political and more commodified and distorted. Women's liberation became synonymous with women's ability to do what they wanted, when they wanted, for themselves, no matter the expense. Lee says, the ability to spend time and money on one's appearance was a sign of personal success and of breaking away from the old roles and rules that held women down in the past. Lee calls Sex and the City the most successful non-children's series of the last decade. It has prompted movies, sightseeing tours, self-help books, and is now in syndication, despite the series finale airing 9 years ago. Sex and the City offers a complex portrayal of women's lives, and critics are particularly interested in the show's take on gender and sexual politics. While some insist the show confirms rather than challenges typical gender roles, others admire its subversion of a patriarchal sexual economy through its celebratory depictions of single womanhood. Most critics do acknowledge that the characters reap the benefits of feminism, although they prefer to attribute such advantages to affluence. By this accord, notions that could otherwise be interpreted as feminism appear as consumerist values. Commodification is obvious in an episode titled A Woman's Right to Shoes, concerning the struggle over abortion rights. The use of shoes instead of choose shows a shift to a consumerist mindset, and Lee argues that consumer ownership displaces questions of bodily ownership. Lee mentions writer Stephanie Harzeski's beliefs that the series has glamorized and therefore commodified single womanhood because it is the stylishness of one's execution of sexuality, not the sexuality one chooses, that matters. Harzeski also critiques the comparisons of men to accessories and business arrangements, even though the women are the ones buying rather than being sold. She points specifically to a scene in which Carrie greets a pair of shoes in a store window with "Hello Lover," which she believes prioritizes Carrie's relationship with materialistic goods over her relationships with men. Lee supports this idea, stating that such capitalism empties the representations of sexuality of any political or ideological weight, instead reinforcing patriarchy and capitalism. However, she admits it may be asking too much for the show to blatantly dismantle dominant constructions of gender and class and forward socially progressive and prescriptive messages. Lee next points to Lauren Berlant and Michael Warner's essay, Sex in Public. They continue the theme that the show desensitizes intimacy by making sex a topic to be discussed among friends rather than with one's partner in private. Therefore, sex is more of a practical and frank point of discussion. Such scenarios separate sex from intimacy, removing the stigma that sex acts are supposed to be the most intimate communication of them all, and moving discussion of them to the public sphere. This also offers a way for women to connect with the show and prompts them to then discuss such topics with their friends. The series denaturalizes heterosexuality and deprivatizes intimacy by making sex a topic of discussion, analysis, and amusement, and substituting pleasure for procreation as the primary goal of sexual activity. Overall, not even Sex and the City is safe from falling into the cultural trap of ambivalence toward feminism, identity, and consumerism. It is easy to see how Sex and the City can be regarded as typical patriarchal pop culture, but doing so requires a dismissal of how modern feminism is inherently present in today's culture. Lee says that we should consider the direct silence on feminism a sign that its second wave has failed to address the stereotypes about itself that typically surround it. The show was created for entertainment, and setting out to dismantle heteronormative expectations is a great feat. I think if the show had done that, it would not have enjoyed the success it has. I believe much of the extravagance in the series adds entertainment value, similar to how Bingley and Darcy's wealth in Pride and Prejudice make their scenes more appealing to readers. Without such drama, Sex and the City would remind me more of Bridget Jones' Diary, which is as enjoyable as Sex and the City and Pride and Prejudice, but more realistic and relatable to the common reader. Sex and the City is one of few shows in the feminist materialistic genre Lee discusses that offers an alternative to the typical marriage plots of so-called chick flicks.